Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know, if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know, if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down.
Whenever you're down, out in the cold, faithless and dark, your story's untold.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tuesday Tea Time. I'm your guy, Icky Timey. We are here hanging out, living life, and if you've been loving what we do, or maybe you're just catching this on the repeat, welcome on anyways. Feel free to make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Follow us, because we're going to constantly be putting out content that is important for the world, and obviously it's going to be juxtaposed to all the other junk that you were getting here online. This stuff is supposed to really build community and be uplifting and good and all that good stuff. So make sure you jump on there and get locked in. Today's conversation, we're gonna do our best to really get to the meat of stuff and be real about it. It's a difficult issue to talk about overall, as we have seen a huge rise in racism. What's up, Kev? Good to see you on here, man. Good to see you. It's been a real thing, and we need to talk about it. Obviously, there's been a lot of hate happening for decades, for hundreds of years, and it's only been escalated here, especially in these last 4 years or so. And in the last recent 2019 to 2020, it has actually risen for our Asian American group of human beings and communities, about 150%, I believe. So we're going to bring on a couple of my good friends, Diane Ujiiye and Eugene Abano. We're going to really dive in and have a conversation about this. I want to invite you to come along with us. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts, please drop them in here. We're going to do our best to be transparent and share what we know and really help us figure tangible ways to move forward. In fact, in our 3-2-1 hack segment, we're going to actually discuss a few tangible things that you can do to help push forward a better way for all of us in communities and cross-cultural, cross-sectional groups, so that we can really start building some good stuff. That's going to happen in a few minutes. I do want to let you know, next week, I'm going to be hanging out with Andrea Bernoth. She is a professional teacher. She's teaching right now in Cambodia. She was in Azerbaijan before that. She moved down to Cambodia. She's teaching there. She's going to talk about mental health and how to create family groups or communities around you wherever you are, because those are the kind of things that are going to really help us get support and kind of grow out of places that we struggle through. Our biggest enemy always is to be isolated. And so Annie's going to talk about that. She's going to talk about her own story and journey through mental health. And she's going to talk about how you can build healthy family groups and communities around you, no matter where you are. May 16 to 23. I know there's a lot happening here beforehand, but I just wanted to drop it on to you. Yeah, Annie, I'm looking forward to seeing you on here too, my friend. That's next week. May 16 to 23, we're going to be doing a mental health week of prayer across Southern California. Right now, we've got about 26 collaborative churches who's coming with us. Dr. Myron Edmonds is our keynote speaker. He's going to be speaking all week. We've got the LA County Department of Mental Health. They're going to be running presentations and workshops. We're going to be having games. We're going to be doing giveaways. It's going to be a great time to engage. The theme is Thrive, and it's all things mental health. You're not going to want to miss out. Make sure you get connected. If you want more information, drop down into our description and fill out some information there. I'll make sure that we get that across to you. That's Thrive, May 16 to 23. But today, we're going to talk about stopping Asian hate. Right. What's up, you two?
Hey, what's up, Icky?
Yeah, you're with me now. Yeah. Hello. Hello to you, Diane, and hello to you, Eugene. For those of you who don't know, Diane Ujiiye she's actually a minister. She's a community involved activist. She's an organizer. She's a builder. She's a reconciler. She's a beast of a human being. She and I got connected because she was working with one of our, hey, what's up, Matt? Hello to you too. She works working alongside with one of the members at GGCC. Shout out to Lexi. And they started collaborating and talking, and then Diane got connected to us. And from the first time Diane and I talked, I immediately saw her as part of my pastoral staff. She didn't know that, but that was in my mind. I was like, hello, Pastor Diane, working with me on our stuff. And I have just the deepest amount of respect for her. And Eugene and I go way back. He's been helping with senior youth young adults here around Southern California. You know, we've been hanging, and he's been just a huge part of our collaboration for trying to grow out awareness and goodness and life here in SoCal. So I thank you two for both coming on here with me. Can you guys share with me, what are you drinking today? Diane, what are you drinking?
Some decaffeinated tea and lemonade, known as an Arnold Palmer. It's tea time.
Yes. Oh, Diane, you win. You so win, because I'm not drinking tea. I'll tell you what I'm drinking in a second.
You saw me drinking earlier, mid-sip. It was just some ginger ale.
You lose, Eugene.
I know.
You didn't even try. That's a can of soda, man. At least I have a cool little
ginger ale.
Okay, I'll give you partial points for that. I'll give you partial points. I've got a tea cup that actually belongs to a coworker nearby who always brings me just this beautiful flat that he does. But since he's not doing that, it's just oat milk. Oat milk? That's kind of cool, right? No.
So you don't have tea either.
yeah, you're right. I don't. Did you hear Diane's sarcastic? Yeah, you're the worst one. Oat milk. Oat milk from the teat of an oat. So let's yeah, that's how it goes. So Diane, fail. Kevin, yes, it was definitely a fail. Diane, I want to start with you. Let me ask you, can you share a little bit about yourself? Tell me a little bit of your story. Everybody needs to hear your story. It's a fantastic story. I know we don't have a ton of time, but share with us.
What are you? Where'd you learn to speak English? No, really, where are you really from? Those kind of questions growing up were off-putting, because I would answer I'm an American, and it was never satisfactory. My father was born in Los Angeles, Boyle Heights. My mother was
Boyle Heights, baby.
Boyle Heights in the house.
Yeah.
But the short of it is that because I wasn't clear on my Asian American, Japanese American identity, my activist cousin introduced me to a group called Little Tokyo People's Rights Organization, where we were dealing with gentrification in Little Tokyo. So long story short, I joined this social justice group when I was a senior in high school, so I was 17. And my first assignment writing for this newspaper, because we had a small newspaper, was on Asian American street gangs. And at the time, Asian American street gangs were mostly Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and Filipino in the greater LA area. And they were, getting loaded and getting into fights and getting arrested. That led me to work for a drug treatment program in South Central LA for about 20 years. I'm really collapsing a lot of time here. I also was struggling with the constructs of traditional religiosity and the American church.
Ooh, call that out, girl.
As I was learning from social justice and civil rights activists who were really standing in the gap, moving closer to the pain, and advancing civil and human rights that we all benefit from today, like intermarriage, like desegregated schools, like the ability to buy property, like the ability to vote, like not living in redlined districts. So when I saw the amount of offering one's body as a living sacrifice by civil rights movement leaders, and the lack of that in the particular church I was in at the time, I decided to re-examine what it means to be a follower of Christ. And that led me down a road of doing more frontline work, mostly around substance abuse, gang prevention, gang intervention, during an era where there was HIV/AIDS, so we had to deal with that, and all of the ramifications that go with HIV/AIDS. And then let me wrap up by saying that led me back in, that then I ended up backing into doing public policy work because a lot of the experiences that people are going through on the streets are informed by what's going on in public policy. So, for example, there are laws that overcriminalize poverty. There are laws that tend to target people of color. There are laws that target people who come here from other countries. So I had to back into doing public policy advocacy while doing the frontline direct service work and then doing what's called community organizing to build a base so that we would have people who are liberated from their oppression and also able to exercise their voice. So that's like, let me see, I'm 22 years old. No, I'm kidding. So that's like consolidating 4 decades into 4 minutes.
Man, Diane, you be killing it. I'm serious. Like, I always feel like I get more street cred when I hang out with you, girl, because you bring so much to the table always. And you are in the roots. You are always, man, you're like the agency of goodness, and equality and justice. And I'm thankful for you as a human being. Just real quick before I ask Eugene the same question, you are also a minister. Why? So like because you went this way and like, you know.
Yeah. So yes, excellent question. And also I just want to express much respect and gratitude, appreciation and love for you, Icky, because you really do find ways to bring people together like today. So, shout out to you. So I've walked the halls of jails and prisons. I've walked the halls of city, county, state, and federal decision-making bodies. A lot of halls.
Yeah.
I know that I don't have sort of the theological background that I needed to have any credibility to speak into the halls of seminary and the halls of certain church institutions. And so I wanted to build bridges between the street, public policy, and for those who believe that they are apolitical, that's virtually impossible, because everything that you are surrounded by, from the roads you drive on to the water you're drinking, is all informed by some degree of public policy and politics. Everything in your house has something to do with public policy or politics. So bridging between the world of public policy, street, what's going on in reality, and then the church, or the American church, I should say, or followers of Christ, and people
Absolutely.
who are faithful believers.
Yeah, uniquely for Adventists, the ability to worship on the day on Sabbath is a policy. It was March 4 and it was passed in the 1960s with the Civil Rights Movement. So I mean, ironically enough, Adventists weren't so inclined to be a part of that protest that we so enjoy its fruits from today. So
and it can be taken away. So we need to protect those human and civil rights as fiercely as we fought for them. And it was only in my generation, my brother, it wasn't, in the this is literally 1963, 1964, Civil Rights Act and voting. That's one generation.
Yeah. Recent history. Eugene, speaking of recent history, tell us a little bit about your life, man. Tell us share us your story, man.
Why did you put me second? There's no way I can top that.
For a blessing. If you know Icky and you're here now, it's all blessing, bro. All blessing.
Oh, all kidding aside, I grew up in San Diego, military town. My dad was in the U.S. Navy. He was only able to get the position of cook in the Navy, in the service, because that's all they allowed people who weren't white at that time. And despite that, he was able to send me to college, buy a house, and I have 2 younger brothers. And he's still alive. It's great.
Wow.
From then I moved on into LA, and just growing up in San Diego, I always felt blessed that I had a diverse group of friends from the Mexicans, because they were so close. San Diego was so close to the border, and then branching out from there with the Latin community, knowing that there was more than just Mexicans that spoke Spanish. And then there was an influx of Asian refugees in San Diego during the time I was growing up. Lots of Vietnamese, Cambodian, and Laotian people. And then I had a Jewish teacher in elementary school. That was my first exposure to Hebrew and that religion. So I just felt that I was kind of always a person of the world, a student of the world, always just soaking things up. From there, I moved to LA, like I mentioned, and I started working in the movie studio industry. So just been blessed to have constant work throughout times of strife, especially like right now in the pandemic. I've been working throughout it, and the writer's strike in 2007 or 6, I was still working. So that was great. And then I've always been involved in my church. I was a youth leader in San Diego. I got my master guide from Pathfinders, and then and, and as soon as I got into LA, I started looking for a church and quickly got involved playing in the band. And then I ended up being at Hollywood since 2008, I believe. And I've been a lay preacher. I preach about usually once a year, but lately it's been more just because of circumstances in the pandemic. And then I got connected with you, Icky, through the conference youth committee. I think that was the name at the time. and then it evolved, and we just kept in touch. And yeah, that's short.
What's your cultural background, bro?
Filipino. But you wouldn't know that from this.
It's a nice full-grown beard you got, buddy. That's real good. That's real
thank
good.
you. Oh man, I had a COVID beard. You did not want to see that.
Me too. I had a COVID beard too.
Diane looks good with the beard. Yeah. Let me ask you both as we begin this conversation. What don't we understand when we say Asian American?
You want to take
that? Yeah, I'm going to take that because Asian is a blanket term that includes Chinese, Indian, Filipino, Vietnamese, Korean, and Japanese. That's like the official stance, but it also includes Pakistani, Thai, Hmong, Cambodian, Laotian, Taiwanese, Bangladeshi, Burmese, Nepalese, Indonesian, and Sri Lankan. I bet you that last list you don't associate with Asian.
Right.
So that's a lot of people that one word covers, and I don't think those people some of those people in that list that I mentioned, I don't think would associate themselves that way, just because they come from other parts that we don't associate Asia with.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. What about you, Diane? What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, right on, Eugene. There are 47 distinct Asian groups in California alone, over 100 dialects and languages, various immigration and refugee patterns. So we are not a monolith. Each language is distinct. So there's not like an Asian language. The term Asian American comes. So we had to fight for that.
Good, yeah.
The way the term Negro and colored had to be advocated for the African American and the Black community. Yuji Ichioka founded the name Asian American. We were formerly called Orientals. So we had to empower ourselves by defining ourselves for ourselves. The other thing that's very challenging from a public policy standpoint is if you have 47 distinct ethnic groups, when you look at our data in aggregate, we normally come out okay. But once you start to disaggregate our data, we have very distinct income, economic, education, household, disease, healthcare, mental health care. So it's impossible to just treat us as a monolith. We have
That's something.
yeah.
That's something that is worth just marinating on. If you're watching along, or if this is something that you hadn't quite considered, this is something just it's worth sitting on that for a moment. That the analytics
Also, don't get
completely
along.
change, huh?
So we've had intra and inter-ethnic conflicts.
Yeah,
So we have to acknowledge that. There's a degree. There's colorism that we've
yeah,
probably internalized to some degrees. We have different kind of religious traditions that maybe are not compatible with more Western. So there's like, it depends on the generation. If you're coming from a war-torn country, if you're coming here from poverty, if you're coming here from economic strife, your socialization process is going to be very different than
very
someone like
different.
me, who was born as an American, very, very privileged to have my citizenship. Yeah, I just want to acknowledge and shout out our undocumented brothers and sisters who really had to fight to get their feet planted here. So sorry,
Ooh.
I didn't
No,
mean
it's
to
so
cut you.
good. It's all
Oh,
right,
there
Diane.
is one more aspect I do need to name.
Yep.
Most of the wars that this country has had has been with people who look like us.
Absolutely.
Japan, World War II, Korean War,
Korean
Vietnam, the
War,
Cold
Vietnam.
War, and then the Muslim ban. So we've often resembled the enemy, and we've also resembled perpetual foreigner.
What are some blanketed stereotypes that's imposed onto Asian that you guys may have already experienced or that you felt in your own life journey? Eugene.
Well, I'll start. I don't know any form of martial arts. I've never been trained in any of that, so that is a stereotype that I break right away.
Right.
Um, Not all of us are good in math,
Oh,
and
that's
not
so big. Yeah.
and not all of us play a musical instrument. Even though I play too, so that doesn't help.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that's good. I mean, like it's very true. Even as it may even that thing may seem like it doesn't harm you to think that, but it's just a blanketed stereotype. What about you, Diane?
Ditto.
Ditto.
I'm a very good driver, so that's one.
Right.
Parallel park. I know how to drive. But
Boyle
Yeah.
Heights, baby.
what?
Boyle
I'm a
Heights.
yeah. So, but on a more serious note, the LA Times coined the term. Time Magazine coined the term model minority in the late 1970s, and that virtually put a wedge between other people of color by somehow fabricating that we had endured and overcome similar social and political trauma, economic trauma, and somehow we're a model minority in overachieving. It is a dangerous misnomer. It is rife with falsities. Many of the brothers and sisters that I journey with have struggled with the very same mental health issues, substance abuse issues, poverty, crime, you name it. We are not somehow immune to that. Moreover, we are not somehow superior to other ethnic groups. And so we have to stop perpetuating this model minority bit, not only by those around us, but we also have to stop trying to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. It is,
Right.
it is just damaging, detrimental. We should be in solidarity with our Black and brown brothers and sisters, not somehow
Amen.
pitted against them with this wedge term. I feel very strong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's
Amen.
go ahead. Let's define model minority for those who may not know it, who may be sort of familiar with the term.
Eugene?
What does one mean when they say model minority, Eugene?
Yeah, it means that you come from some place that's not here, that's not America, but you integrate with ease, with like the easiest path, with the least amount of time, and you do everything like American. You go to football games, you go to baseball games, you put your kids into public school, you salute the flag, you support the cops, you support the military. Generally, it's thought that you kind of vote Republican It's also you don't put up a stink. You don't kind of you don't rock the boat is really what I'm trying to say. I was trying to find a way around it, but in that way I rock the boat. But
Basically
that's
becoming
the
a
thing.
passive people group that will just do whatever is
Yeah.
called of them. Is that
Yep.
right? And why is that so toxic, Diane? I mean, you know, what is the toxicity there?
It is fomented resentment from some of our other brothers and sisters who come from the Black community, the Latino, Latinx community, Native American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders. So we need to name that. Yeah, it's fomented religion. And it
Yeah.
also makes us, if we are somehow closer to white hegemony, white proximity, white superiority, that we are somehow token, or that we are somehow honorary Americans, in a very kind of condescending, paternal, patronizing, weird, convoluted way. I don't know what to say. Like, oh, good American,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You guys are still seen as foreigners, aren't you?
When
Oh
I
yeah.
was walking down the street in Montana by myself one evening, and I'm not stereotyping here, but it was
Yeah.
a Ford pickup truck with three
Right.
white guys. When they saw me, they literally yelled, "Foreigner, go home." And then they did a U-turn and they said, "No foreigners allowed."
Wow.
In my lifetime. I was walking down Redondo Beach the other day with a Latina friend with our masks on, and a white woman looked at me and she called me a Chinese bit. I won't say the word bleep, a
Wow.
Chinese bleep. This was about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
My friend who's Vietnamese was walking in Glendale near the mall, and same thing happened. She had her mask on, and some elderly lady said, "Take that virus out of here." Yelled at her in the street in Glendale. I'm like, really? This is
Wow.
happening? And in the beginning, when the coronavirus was kind of newish, and we were told to wear masks,
Hmm.
there would be people that weren't wearing masks, and when I would wear one into the grocery store, they would go to the other side of the aisle or kind of avoid me. And now masks are, you know, everywhere.
Yeah. So just recently down in Atlanta, 8 people were shot. As you probably are very familiar with the story. 6 of them being females. The number for Asian females being harassed, the Asian hate crimes is much higher. It's more than twice as high for females than it is for males. When the shooter was being interviewed by the police, he said that he had to get rid of his temptation. That was the best way he could do it. And I'm just paraphrasing. But when he says that he had to get rid of his temptation or to remove that, what does that say about Asians and specifically Asian females? I'll start with you, and what's your thoughts on that, Diane, and then we'll listen to Eugene share a little bit as well.
Susie Wong, geisha prostitutes, massage parlors, objectification, exotification, subservient. I could go on and on. These are sort of the misnomers about Asian women. When you add to that the layer of military presence in countries and just sort of the dynamics between the majority military men and then the way women are treated, the local women are treated, it adds to those dynamics.
What about you, Eugene?
Yeah, that the military thing is really resonant with me because somebody told me in school, "Me love you long time," long before I had seen the movie Full Metal Jacket. So I didn't know what they were talking about, and it just flew over my head. And then later on, I was like, oh, that was racism toward me. It just goes from, like, even the Philippines was a U.S. colony for, I think, 50 years. So it's this presence of somebody else sort of being an authoritative position, and the Asian person that they're occupying being subservient. So that becomes sort of fetishized in our media, in our culture, and in our zeitgeist.
It seems to me that part of the playbook of being able to continue hate is to dehumanize a people group, whether it's Asians, African Americans, Latinx, LGBTQ, but we tend to do this great work of dehumanizing them, and then it gives us the ability to treat them however we'd like to treat them, right? And that's a painful thing to do. I want to show a quick video, and I just want to put out a quick warning for those of you who's watching along with us. By the way, if you're watching along with us, welcome on. I'm with Diane Ujiiye and Eugene Abano. We're talking about how to stop Asian hate. I know that some of this conversation is really heavy, and it's serious, but it's important to have if we're going to make a change in the way that we deal with it, and that way we walk forward together. I'm going to show you a video right now. I won't show the whole thing, but you'll be able to find it on Vimeo, and it's out there so you can watch it. It's a good little collaboration between different people of the AAPI community, sharing their situation, and then us watching some of the things that's happened more recently. Just a heads up, there's profanity in it, and so if you have someone young in your house right now, it's probably a good time to let them out. I've censored as much as I can, but still, it's there. I don't want to completely censor everything out, because this is not something we produce. This is real life and real world, and it has to strike us in a way where we're bothered by it if we want to make a change for it. All right. So here we're just going to watch some of it here, and watch along with it.
I love to dance.
And I love watching romantic
I
comedies.
can't stand Phil Collins.
I really like a good
I
tequila.
don't like football.
I don't like the smell of cigarette
I
smoke.
put ketchup
I'm a coach.
on my tuna fish sandwiches.
I don't like pickles.
I wish my parents were still here.
I'm a mother of
I
three.
love ice cream. I love Jesus.
I love traveling.
I used to be a real cowboy.
I miss my brother.
I'm not so crazy about BFFs.
I watch
I
tennis.
hate okra.
I like garlic on my
I
pizza.
hate having exercise.
I don't like silly movies.
I'm not good with names.
I could surf every day for the rest of my life. I don't like the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I'm an only child.
I don't want your Netflix suggestion. I'm a Hollywood stuntman.
I don't like
I
cucumber.
like the color purple.
We hate you people. Go back. Where you
I'm
belong.
a cat person.
You.
I think the designated hitter
I
rule
love
is
baseball.
total bullshit.
And I didn't get a haircut during this pandemic.
I'm not a virus.
I'm not a virus.
I'm not a
I
virus.
am not a
I'm not a
virus.
virus.
I'm not a virus.
I am not.
I'm not a virus.
I'm not a
I'm not a
virus.
virus.
I'm not a virus.
not a virus.
I'm your neighbor.
I'm your neighbor.
I'm your neighbor. I'm your neighbor.
Go back to whatever Asian country you belong in.
part.
I was born in the Bay Area.
We are Americans.
I am not weak.
I would fight back.
Stop the hate.
I've been physically assaulted.
Stop the hate.
I will fight back.
Stop the hate.
Stop the hate.
Stop the hate.
Oh my god.
Stop the hate.
Oh my god. Stop the hate.
Enough is enough.
Stop the hate.
Stop the hate.
Enough is enough.
Stop the hate.
Enough is enough.
Stop the hate.
Stop the head.
Yo, what are you doing?
Enough is enough.
Stop the hate.
Stop the hate.
Stop the hate. Enough is enough.
Stop the hate.
Stop the hate. Stop the hate.
I want to invite you to take a moment to breathe that in a little bit before we go forward. this is the very real world we live in. It's our friends, it's our neighbors. Diane, I want to invite you to weigh in here first.
So, thank you for having the courage to show that. Candidly, that's mild. So, I know you had to edit it to make it family friendly. The violence is much more physical and graphic than what was shown there. And again, you know, we respect that. You were concerned about profanity, but the situation is profane, and it has been profane since we arrived in the 1800s. So I know that we believe, some people think that this is a recent advent. It is not. We have been massacred, lynched, bombed. When railroad workers were finished with their work, the entire mines were exploded. My parents were incarcerated for looking like the enemy for 4 years in concentration camps during World War II. Our Muslim brothers and sisters were profiled. Every community of color in this country has endured violation, hatred, not only just interpersonal, physical, but government sanctioned violence. And so I think that in order to, we'll talk about addressing it later, but I have to say that this is the first time in my life, though, that I've carried pepper spray. I've always felt safe in any community that I've been in, but now I don't know who might come at me. And so, yeah, it's the first time that my son has felt like he had to buy pepper spray for me.
Eugene, give us your thoughts.
Well, my first thought is that if that video doesn't like strike something in you, then I think that you might be part of the problem. Because me watching that, I not only see my mom, my grandmother, my sisters, my aunts, my cousins, I just see people. I see people being mean to other people. And I've always hated bullies. So that's what it feels like now. It feels like even now I'm getting emotional talking about it.
Yeah. It's a very real situation.
Yeah.
My wife was sharing with me, just last night. She's like, man, I'm getting more scared to walk out. For those of you who don't know, my wife's Filipino. I said, you know, yeah, I can completely understand how, you know, it could be difficult for you, especially considering someone who her whole life work is to help take care of people and bring them to health, and to know that she may be victimized, nevertheless, and she may be victimized by somebody who she may end up trying to be helping later on, or who she may have helped in the hospital. You know, it's a difficult space we live in.
Can I comment though? I agree with Eugene. And I also recognize that people are so angry and frustrated by the current state of their lives, due to an increase in underemployment, due to an increase in economic stressors, due to a lot of what we're seeing in terms of law enforcement. There's just a lot of unresolved, pushed down rage and anger that we've all taken turns being the scapegoat. And, you know, in a certain period of time, someone else will be the focal point. I do remember going to Orange County to stand with my Muslim and my Sikh brothers and sisters who are being profiled for having beards, for wearing turbans, for looking like, in the minds of the Orange County officials, looking like terrorists. I do remember coming alongside my Samoan brothers and sisters in Carson who were being profiled by the Carson police. I do remember coming alongside always my Latino brothers and sisters at the border, where their children are being separated. I do recall coming alongside my Black brothers and sisters who are profiled by not only law enforcement, but even Asian merchants who didn't have any sense of history and knowledge of their humanity. And to your point, Icky, they were not taught about African American history and the basic narrative that our Black brothers and sisters have had to endure. So they have only learned that Black folks are criminals. And it was that dehumanization process that has kind of allowed some of the tensions between our communities. And conversely, some of the Black community, they are not in relationship, deep friendship with Asians. And so all they know are the stereotypes that are perpetuated in their people groups, in their social media feeds. So it's very layered and nuanced. It's not interpersonal. And I do want to end by saying, I'm wondering if the church could do a better job every Sunday or Saturday when the preacher's up there preaching. I'm wondering if Bible studies might take some time in small youth groups, Friday night youth groups, and your week-long trips, your camping trips, if there might be more attention to learning how to have conversations about this. Not just talking at these people, but learning how to facilitate actual dialogue and conversations about what we've internalized. Because a lot of it is internal.
Absolutely. Which brings me to a question I wanted to pose to you both. And of course, if you're watching along, you're welcome to post a question. But how crucial is it to have cross-cultural dialogue and collaboration in order to fight the hate crimes? You led so well into this, Diane. It's like you set me up to spike this question down. But yeah, how crucial is it to have this cross-cultural dialogue and collaboration as we're trying to fight hate crimes?
If I can start, because I know.
It's the only. Oh, you go, Eugene.
Yeah.
You go.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's what we have to do, because staying insular is going to only make the problem worse. And like what you mentioned earlier, Diane, about this is now the turns of the Asians to be, I guess, in the racist spotlight. Before, when America, in like the New York immigration hub time, it was Italians, Jewish people, Irish. These people were the ones that were the other. They were the non-American. And then shoot. And there was something I was wanting to bring up, but those were the people that were looked down. Oh, and then what you mentioned about the terrorists in the 80s, I remember that it was the IRA, it was the Irish terrorists. So a terrorist, when you picture that in your mind, looked like a white person from Europe. Now a terrorist looks like a person from the Middle East because of what we're going through. So it's great that you said that this is just now our turn. It'll be somebody else's turn after we get through this.
Wow. What about you, Diane?
I want to comment.
Comment.
Hold on a minute. That the dialogue that you're talking about, Icky, has to be sustained and it has to go deep. And so, got to be intentional, and people have to be ready, willing, and able to examine a few things. Are there any biases in my spirit? If there are, where did I learn about them? How do I view people based on their skin, their hair? What kind of isms have I internalized? And am I willing to unpack those, name those, and bring them out into the light? How many friends do I have that are not like me, that come from different people groups, not only just ethnically, culturally, or racially, but also socioeconomically? So those isms are beyond skin and hair. They go to class, they go to zip code, they go to all kinds of different characteristics and lifestyles that we would probably need to spend a lot of time on. Deep, abiding friendships are one of the greatest ways to humanize.
Right.
Yeah.
Proximity causes empathy.
Yeah, and I think that's why I wanted to mention like the diverse group of friends that I had growing up, because that really helped me. And that was something that happened naturally. And I hope that everybody listening and even everybody in the world has that opportunity to meet somebody who's not like them, because that not only allows you to see somebody else as a human being, but it allows you to see that you can talk to somebody who's different. You can have a conversation with somebody that doesn't agree with you, that worships on a different day, that worships in a different place, that wears something different. That's important with humanizing somebody rather than making them a demon, an other, an enemy, much like the Nazis did in Germany with they created propaganda with Jewish people with horns and spiked tails and forked tongues. That's not who people are. If you have that experience of what a Muslim is like, what an African American is like, what a Chinese person is really like, what a Japanese person is really like, then you know that they're not what the fear mongering is telling you they are.
Have long abiding relationships, friendships, and stop fear mongering. Ooh, those are two great points. You need to hashtag that. If you're watching along, you need to write that down and get started on our journey. I want to move to our 3, 2, 1 section, guys. We're like already almost out of time, and I've got like 1,032 more questions to go. So we're not going to do all of them, but let's do the 3, 2, 1 hacks. This is your time, everybody, if you're watching along, where you're going to be able to pick up some really cool tips on how to move on in life and tangible things that you can do that'll change something in you immediately. So let's all get on this page. I've asked both of these human beings to give me a couple things that they'd like to give tips on. So I'm gonna start with Diane. Diane, give us 3 tips on impacting structural and systemic racism. 3 tangible things someone can do right now that will be an impact on structural and systemic racism. Go.
So starting with number 3, know and learn your own history and the history of other people of color. Because currently most K through 12 curricula is from publishing companies that are Eurocentric, or even they're based in Great Britain. Like, for example, Peterson Publishing has the monopoly on most of our K through 12 curricula. Number 2, examine the root causes of systemic and structural racism, and most of them are economic. So be willing to acknowledge that, sorry, Eugene, with all due respect, some of our military budget, some of our law enforcement budget is rooted in profit. So we need to look at those systems and structures that perpetuate and profit from the incarceration and the deployment of, and the loss of lives of people of color. And then number 1, relationships, friendships, relationships.
Ooh, those are good. Those are all things you can do like right now when you leave this place, and it will give you a little bit of a pivot from things that you've been doing up until this point. Good. Eugene, give us 3 tips on how to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Well, the number 1 thing you can do is shut up, because you do more when you listen and you don't look for your time to talk. When you actively listen, you are acknowledging the other person as a human being, and you may learn something, which is number 2, be okay not knowing. That goes with learning. Like, I've always considered myself a lifelong learner. So it's the person who knows very much that admits that he doesn't know anything or she doesn't know anything. So don't go into a conversation thinking you're right. Go into a conversation wanting to know something about the other person, or just whatever subject you guys are talking about. And then the easiest one to do is the 3rd one. Just try it. Try talking to somebody that you don't know. Try talking to a different ethnic background, a different religious background, a different occupation. Start simple and then work your way up.
Nice. Very good. That's good. That's good. Thank you for those 3. We're gonna do 2. We're gonna do 2. Okay. So could you guys give me? I'll start with you, Diane. Give me 2 tips on how to have healthy cross-cultural dialogue. You're actually really good at this, Diane, and I picked this question specifically for you.
Intentional gatherings, like we did with the Belong Circle. Break bread together. You have a couple of guiding questions, and going back to Eugene's point, you're in a posture of listening and learning. One of my favorite questions is, or one of my favorite statements is, tell me more. Tell me more.
That's true. Yeah. That is true.
The other one I would suggest is visit other communities. eat, shop, go to a festival, hang out. You know, just when we had the API Christians for Social Justice vigil in Lemert Park, which is in Crenshaw, which is in South Central, it was the first time some of our Asian brothers and sisters exited the 10 freeway and went down Crenshaw, or exited the 110 freeway up Slauson to Crenshaw. It was the first time for many of them who had ever eaten Jamaican food, or ever saw a black African drum circle, or ever went to Essawan bookstores, which is a bookstore of the African diaspora. So, you know, get in your car and take a field trip.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Nice, nice.
You know, I'm glad you brought up Crenshaw. I used to be around that area, so I totally know what you're talking about. And I was.
All right. Let's do this. We're gonna move to one tip each. Are you guys ready to move to the one tip? I'm gonna start with you, Eugene. Give us one tip on how to mold a mustache correctly.
Well, you have to be uncomfortable being uncomfortable. Just kidding. Like, it's gonna get to a point where your facial hair grows and you want to scratch it and shave it, but keep going. And you have to shampoo it, massage it, talk to it, read it bedtime stories.
Do you have a comb for it? When you get it, you've had it where you could really just.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And what special
if you
product?
want to style facial hair, if you want to style facial hair, you got to find the small comb. It's ask for the smallest comb you can get, and it'll get through those the fine whiskers on your face. And then if you want to style it further, you can get a good molding wax. You have to go to the specialty shops for this. You can't find these at like your CVS. You have to go to maybe. Unfortunately, I'm sort of a hipstery in that I've been to like Dapper Day at Disneyland, and I found some there. So I don't know where else to go. Like maybe Echo Park or Silver Lake will have something.
I think you've reached too deep into this bag, Eugene. I don't know what to do with all this information. So, but someone out there is trying to grow a beautiful stash and trying to do it right. I'll be honest. You know what? I let the thing grow out on my face like a wild bush, and when my wife is tired of it, then I just shave it off. So
you gotta comb it and shampoo it. Read it bedtime stories from Uncle Arthur.
It's like the burning bush. It doesn't care. It just keeps glowing. So is my facial hair. Dan, give us one tip on something in your wheelhouse that someone can do right now that will help change their life.
Yes, you have to have fluffy scrambled eggs. And the way that I make really fluffy scrambled eggs is you add 1 tablespoon of water to every 2 eggs. Now, just bear with me. And then you have to, of course, scramble. But the key is low heat, lift and stir, lift and stir. 1 tablespoon
Diane,
of water.
is that for real?
Yes. And you'll when you overcook scrambled eggs, they get hard and dense.
Yeah.
You want light and fluffy. So lift and stir, low heat.
This
and
may
the
have
water.
changed.
Don't forget the water.
I've never heard of this. I've never heard of this in my whole life. This is new to me.
Man, you should talk to Adam more.
This is revelation. I'm gonna try this tomorrow. Seriously, if my kids hate it, I'm gonna call Diane because this is awesome. Water?
Then be mindful that while you're eating your scrambled eggs, you don't get it onto your molded mustache, right? Right. And Eugene can teach you how to get the bits of scrambled egg out from your mustache.
Yep. Or you'll you just have to be comfortable being uncomfortable about that.
Yeah, that's the downfall of growing your facial hair. You have to eat differently.
That's true. That's very, very true. Very true. Let's get a couple more questions in before we break for this afternoon. Thank you everybody for watching along. I'm with Diane Ujiiye and Eugene Abano. We're talking about how to stop Asian hate. How can we grow together as a community? How can we cross-culturally have dialogue that will be beneficial to all of us? Because everyone's getting a turn in this hate, and we need to be able to help posture each other up. How can we create more cohesion in our dialogue with others? who struggle through hate crimes? How can we do this? How can we create this more cohesion in our dialogue with others? What are some things that we could do to make that happen? Both of you have said listening. Both of you have said making sure you get outside of your community. But I'm thinking in a sense of a church, right? Like if we're a church, what are some things that we could implement as a church? How could we create better dialogue, more activities and practices? Diane, weigh in on this.
One thing that you've actually done that I think could be replicated easily is allow at least 10 to 15 minutes at the end of service after the sermon to turn to your neighbor, simply turn to your neighbor and have a 10-minute conversation about the sermon. And then you turn to your other neighbor and you do the same. I think the more we build in spaces for conversation, the more accustomed we'll get to it, including youth groups. I know that a lot of youth pastors tend to talk at the kids, and then the kids are rewarded for simply regurgitating what they were taught. But what if we spent time creating spaces, dialogue between 9-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, so they learn how to have civil discourse around controversial issues, and that rather than steering clear of talking about sexuality or politics or race, we actually give them space to wrestle with that in a safe, non-judgmental space. And I really do believe it starts with the 9-year-olds, the 14-year-olds, those young adults who are forming.
Yeah, we probably should also have pastors be more intentional about the words they use, the way they use hermeneutics, exegesis, being very clear about text, and that would help. That would help bring out better dialogue and conversation within the members as well. Eugene, what are your thoughts on that?
Just to underscore what Eugene said, to also model being a good listener. I say that as I cut you off. How to model being a good listener as I interrupt you. But it's the delay in the app.
Yeah, we'll blame it on the app. Well, it's the delay. It's fine. No, I'm just playing. What are your thoughts, Gene?
I think it's I'm trying to think of something that we haven't mentioned already, and I think it's being able to reach out to your fellow sister churches, because I know it's comfortable going into like your Japanese church, your Chinese church, and for me, I grew up in a Filipino church, so it's like that's comfortable. But reach out to maybe the Spanish church, the Samoan church, the different church, the Korean church. Just try to do something. Maybe make a field trip for one of your worship days. Do something at lunch. Just get to know people. I think that's the main thing, is just getting outside of the comfort zone, because getting uncomfortable is going to soon feel like normal. And I think that's really what it needs to be. Like what's going on now. Asians are speaking up because that's been uncomfortable. Speaking up has been uncomfortable. Don't speak up against authority. Don't rock the boat. But we have to in order to affect change.
Yeah, so true. Very true.
I have a thought really quick.
Yeah.
What you're doing right now is so you show a short video, you can watch a documentary, you can watch a film, and then sort of have a party and talk about it. So I had one at my house, watched the documentary 13th, which is about mass incarceration, and I invited some church people. We watched the movie, we cried, and then we talked and we prayed. You could do that in all right?
Yeah.
With short video, you can do little YouTube video. It doesn't have to be a full-blown documentary or a feature film. It could be just like what you did today.
True. And just spend some moments there, right? Growing together. Hi, Yvonne. Thanks for coming on. Yes, URF Church, you are right. Let's tell these churches to jump on. Let's start collaborating together, start visiting, talking, praying for, being a part of each other's lives, understanding each other's history, our own history. This is all really good. We're closing up right now. I'm with Diane Ujiiye and I'm with Eugene Abano, both good friends, and I'm really thankful for their friendship, their counsel, and their humanness in this world. I do want to ask one more question as we're exiting out. if you see somebody who may be in a situation where there looks to be potential tension or maybe a bullying that might happen or something like that, what suggestions do you have that could help people be able to de-escalate the situation or pivot the attention away? Anything you guys could share with us in that range?
Diane, you want to go first? I'm thinking.
So one tactic that can be used is to distract. Another one is not to call on the person who's doing the attacking, but to try to remove the person who's under attack away from the situation. It's always good to document so people know. So one of the things I do is I will show that I'm documenting, and sometimes just people knowing that they're being watched is a discouragement. Yeah, there's actually a great training, and I'll send you the link that you can share with your people, called Hollaback. And it's a
Hollaback.
Hollaback. It's a de-escalation training. There's like 4 to 5 different kinds of steps that you can take to intervene when someone is under attack. I'll share that with you. I'm not able to recall it quickly right now, but those were a few of the tactics: divert, distract. Yeah.
Nice. Very good. Anything from you, Eugene?
I mean, I think I'm the wrong person to ask because I would immediately antagonize somebody, but Diane's responses kind of made me think about it, calm down, and distract was the first thing that came to my mind. And then she said it. It was like, that's what I think we should do. Like, look around for your safety first, and then find a way to distract.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
For people who are living in LA County, right now LA County is trying to launch something called 988, which is a mental health crisis line, so that if it seems to be a mental health issue, you won't have to call 911 and have the police come. Sometimes the police make it worse, not all the time, but sometimes. So if we want to protect the lives of those who have mental illness, then there's a 211 crisis line, and there's going to be a 988 mental health crisis line.
Very good. That is a really good piece of information out there. 988. So keep that in mind. That might be coming to your town, 988, because there is already 911. And then there's 211 as well for resources, mental health resources. If you need something, 211 is another great. I just learned that a couple weeks ago from one of our mental health prometoras from over here, the LA County Department of Mental Health. As we close out our time together here, I want to thank you both for being with us. I pray that as those of you who have been watching along with us have been able to find something useful, some gems that'll help you in your journey to create better conversation and dialogue. Roxana, that's right. That's my girl. She was just on with us, 211. But also, I'm praying for those of you who maybe will catch this a little bit later, that you're able to find something in this hour together that's going to give you some gravity to change some things that need to be changed. Speak a new narrative into the world that you're living in, and be an agency of goodness that is breaking hate crimes of all kinds, because that's what Jesus would do. That's literally what Jesus would do. There's no question about that at all. So we can debate about a kabillion things theologically, but there's one thing we know for a fact, that God has always been for breaking hate, evil, and violence. So let's start working on that, my friends. As we close out, thanks for being with us. Yes, I love you all. As we close out, I want to give you guys a couple final words. Could you give us a sentence or two of encouraging words or inspiring words for those who might be watching along? We'll start with you, Eugene.
Stand up and say something. You see something, say something. That goes for bullying too. I don't think you'll ever regret it, because I've stood up to bullies. Real quick, in middle school, a teacher was threatening a student, and I stood up to that, and I've never regretted it, even though my peers at the time were like, do you know how much trouble this person could get into, the student being bullied? I've never regretted it. So I don't think you will sit on your deathbed and say, I regret doing that. because I don't think I ever will. So see something, say something.
See something, say something. Thank you, Gene. Close us out, Diane. Give us some inspiring words for those who are watching along and listening.
Seek justice, love mercy, walk humbly.
I don't think you'll regret doing those things at your deathbed either.
No,
beautiful.
Not at all.
Thank you, my friends. I thank you for the agency that you are into this world that we live in. I'm praying for all of you guys out there who are part of this process, who's decided you're going to be agents of goodness. I'm praying for those of you who are transitioning and pivoting in your life about things that you're recognizing that's not so great in your own life. And I'm praying for all of us that we do this together, that we begin to become just a juggernaut for the kingdom of God, to do goodness and rightness in the world around us. See something, say something, like my guy Eugene and my girl Darlene just posted back up. God bless you all. Love you guys. Next week, we're going to talk to a professional teacher who's traveling the world. She's going to talk about mental health, her own story, and she's going to talk about how to create family circles or communities around you, no matter where you are, to give you a sense of support. I want to invite you to come along on that trip, but until next Tuesday, my friends, I'm going to bid you be safe, be good, and be the agent of Jesus in the world around us. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you.
All right.